Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Hey friends, been a couple weeks since my last video, but I figured you might need a break from all the constant award season stuff I've been throwing at you, but 2022 is now in the can, which means it's time for all of our year in review content. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, one, thank you so much, I love you, and two, I tend to start with my worst and then it'll be a couple of months before I have my best list and stuff put together because film distribution in Australia is terrible and I like to wait until mid-February when I've seen pretty much everything I can see because I like to try to see everything in the theater. But it surely can't get worse from here, so it's time to do my worst of 2022 list. Now, I brought it back last year after a hiatus because I've been seeing more and more movies lately and I saw a lot this year, just one shy of 200 feature films released in 2022. And unfortunately, there were some bad ones, but you know, we don't want to be too mean-spirited and negative, so as I did last year, I'm going to try and challenge myself to name one positive about each film, even if it's just like, I like this actor. But yeah, let's get into it. I have a few honorable mentions this year because there are a lot of films deserving to be here this time around. Now, my first honorable mention is You Won't Be Alone, which is a tale set in 19th century Macedonia about a young witch. Now, I hate to shit on an art house film and I hate to shit on an Australian director because I think Goran Stalevski has a really promising career ahead of him. But, you know, art films are not free of my wrath too, and this kind of just felt like a student film. Very like faux Malikian imagery, very repetitive, very dull, and yeah, I can't think of anybody I could recommend this one to. My next honorable mention is Men. Now, if we're talking disappointments, you'd be hard-pressed to find a film that disappointed me more than Men this year because I was extremely excited for it. I love Alex Garland, I love Jessie Buckley, I love psychological horror, but not much about Men worked for me, aside from the two great performances from Jessie Buckley and Rory Kinnear. It's the latest in a long line of these male filmmakers trying to make feminist texts, and I'm not saying they can't do this, but it really does feel like Garland kind of not really being interested in the female experience, but just being interested in female trauma and just an idea of the female experience. And I don't think it worked. And it felt like him saying, pin a medal on me, I'm one of the good guys. Next, I'll mention Halloween Ends. Takes a weird direction, which I almost have to respect, but it couldn't even fully commit to that weird direction. And it is just a disappointing trilogy ending with a thud. Disenchanted is one. Now, I'd say I was excited for this because I love the first one, but I'm never going to have really high hopes for a film that's going straight to Disney+. So, yeah, it's pretty much what you'd expect. It looks like it was shot in someone's backyard, and it has none of the charm of the original film. The Man from Toronto, honorable mention. I skipped the other Kevin Hart Netflix movie, Me Time, but I threw this on and I immediately regretted it. It's just more of the same, the most like lowest common denominator jokes, lame action sequences. It's just there to make money and get views, and I don't even know anyone who even watched this really. And my last honorable mention is Jurassic World Dominion. Very unlucky to miss the list. You'll probably hear me say this term a lot, but it really does feel like algorithm-generated cinema that just repeats formulas of everything that's come before. It's barely even about dinosaurs. It has no idea what to do with the original cast members that they've brought back. And the story actually has a really cool concept of dinosaurs being let into the real world, and they do absolutely nothing with it. My number 10 is Blonde, another disappointment, a film that I was really looking forward to for a number of reasons. I love like empathetic psychological stories of troubled women. I love Andrew Dominik's film, The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford. It's one of my favorite films of all time. I was looking forward to it as a visually sumptuous exploration of fame that also delves into horror, but Blonde is awful. And I initially had it like not quite in the 10, but upon thinking about it, I'm like, This film really does deserve to be here because it made me angrier than any other film this year, I think. And I love Marilyn Monroe, and I think she was a talented actress who, yes, had a troubled life, dealt with a lot of objectification and abuse, but that is all this film is interested in. It is not interested in her as a human being at all. It's only interested in her as a vehicle for trauma. And I get that it's not meant to be a factual biopic. I get that it's meant to be a horror film about a fictionalized version of Marilyn Monroe, but it even treats the fictionalized version of her like garbage, and it's just mentally and emotionally exhausting seeing her be brutalized for the whole runtime because she's not even a person, and the film has nothing but contempt for her, really, as evidenced by Andrew Dominik's comments in interviews. It's an awful, mean-spirited film that sure has some good cinematography, but I don't think it's cinematography that really serves the story. It's just kind of Instagram photo surface level beauty. Yeah, it's if you haven't seen it yet, really don't put yourself through it. It's not worth it. I really do think Ana de Armas gives it her all in this one. I won't say it's like her greatest performance, but considering how little depth she's given to work with, she really, really put in the hard work for this, and I actually think she's pretty good in it and the one saving grace of the film. My number 9 is Bardo, a false chronicle of a handful of truths. Now, a lot of big major directors over the last few years have been trying their hand at making their story, their own autobiographical film. We've had some this year, some good and some Bardo. Alejandro Iñárritu is a director I quite like. I really like Birdman. I really like The Revenant, despite some of the criticisms that those films get. But one of those big criticisms is how egoistic and self-important and overindulgent a lot of his films are. And to address this, he decides to make his most egoistic and self-important and overindulgent film yet with Bardo. Set on this character that's a surrogate for himself, who's this award-winning journalist and filmmaker who's being given some award, and it's about him feeling torn between his status as a Mexican and his the way he's revered over in the States and stuff, and feeling like a fraud and everything like that. But my thing with Bardo is that I don't think being self-aware of your creative failings really absolves you of them, because I just found this film to be a tedious, arrogant bore. It's very much trying to be like 8.5, another film that I don't like. And that's not to say I don't like when filmmakers make films about themselves, but this really just feels disingenuous and lazy and not the right way to, combat the criticisms that have been levied against Iñárritu, because I think he was going along fine. He was still making good films, and I kind of like that he's overindulgent, but it just did not work at all in this case for me. So some people do like this one, and I totally get that. And getting to my positive, it does have incredible cinematography from Darius Khondji. Genuinely some of the best cinematography of the year, and it was probably the only thing that kept me from falling asleep in the theater. My number 8 is Elvis, a film, even though I didn't review on this channel, you've probably heard me talk about it plenty, because Baz Luhrmann, I've made him my mortal enemy this year. Again, shitting on a fellow Australian, I'm sorry, but I just do not like his work, and Elvis is just another entry into that oeuvre. Music biopics are getting a bit tiresome for me as it is, but Elvis just took it to a whole new level by combining my usual issues with how these films exploit their subjects and then my issues with Baz Luhrmann's over-the-top, in-your-face style. I'm not saying I hate maximalism. I like it if there's some heart and maybe existentialism in there, but when it's just non-stop shit being thrown in your face, I can't deal with it. And about 30 minutes into Elvis, I was starting to worry that the entire film would be a montage. It's chaos. I don't like the way he inserts modern music into it. Seeing Elvis walk down Beale Street while Doja Cat's playing is certainly an experience. And we can't forget about Tom Hanks as Colonel Tom Parker. The film is framed around his perspective, which really kind of bothered me, but his performance is awful. The makeup work, sure, it's good, but here's a cartoon character in this movie, and I really think so much of this film is minimizing Elvis's legacy by making it so cartoonish, and it's doing a disservice to Elvis, and it's doing a disservice to Austin Butler's genuinely really good performance. And I think it's also a film that's kind of afraid to lean into the darker aspects of Elvis's life. You know, there's the whole thing about how he co-opted black music, but the film kind of presents him as some kind of hero for the marginalized. And I'm not saying Elvis was a racist or anything, but the way this, like, there's one scene where they intercut one of his performances where he's rebelling on stage with footage of like the civil rights movement, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far, but I really think Baz Luhrmann often just misses the point of what his films are about and should be about and are trying to be about. And I know a lot of people really love this one, and I guess I totally get that, but for me, it was absolute torture. And I found the ending kind of powerful, but then they launched straight into the goddamn Eminem song in the end credits, which was like one of the funniest things I've seen all year. But yeah, Elvis, I've accepted that it's going to be a big Oscar player this year, but I am not bloody happy about it. For my one positive, I think I mentioned it already, it's Austin Butler. He deserves the Oscar nomination he is going to get. He is really, really good in this film, and it's kind of just makes me even more upset with it because he deserved something so much better because he is giving a powerful and nuanced performance. It's just a shame that he's doing it in a cartoon. My number 7 is David O. Russell's Amsterdam, a film that I am very glad flopped at the box office. Because look, I've loved some of O. Russell's films in the past, like Silver Linings Playbook, one of my favorite rom-coms. But why isn't he cancelled by now? He's an asshole. He's abusive towards actors on set, and he shouldn't be working anymore, especially with cast this big. I don't know why everyone signed up for it. I guess his films get a lot of acting nominations and they want some of that sweet, sweet awards glory. But this film brings a lot of good people down with it. It's the first time I've seen Margot Robbie give a bad performance. Anya Taylor-Joy and Rami Malek kind of all over the place. De Niro kind of tries in it. I can't even tell you the plot of this movie because it's so jumbled and convoluted. It's just this sort of murder mystery that gets abandoned into this tale about fascism conspiracies and about the importance of kindness. And that's my main thing about this movie. It was really surreal sitting here watching a movie that's all about the importance of being humanistic, coming from David O. Russell, and it almost feels like it's him trying to shift his image a little bit. Emmanuel Lubezki's cinematography is really goofy. There are some terrible editing choices. I'm stealing this quote from someone, I cannot remember who, but it has the same ending as like a Scooby-Doo movie. It's so fast-paced yet so boring at the same time, and I was really, really struggling to stay awake in the theater for this one. I don't really have much more to add about Amsterdam. No one watched it, and they were right to not watch it. My positive is that I do think Christian Bale escapes the movie with his dignity. He's not bad in this. My number 6 is The 355, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think might be the first film I saw for 2022. And I did review it on this channel if you want to see more of my thoughts, because right now, I don't remember a lot of this film. It's just another action movie that comes from like the Mile 22 school of fight choreography where everything is shaky and you cannot see a single thing that's going on, which is a real shame because it's such a great opportunity for this female-driven action blockbuster with these great actors in it. Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong'o, Penelope Cruz. All these great people, and they're just stuck in this nothing movie that's a rip-off of movies that have come before, and it's proof that Simon Kinberg does not know how to direct and should not direct anymore, and Jessica Chastain, please stop working with him. You are so much better than this. Yeah, it's really completely fails on every level, the 355. For my positive aspect, I would say Lupita Nyong'o and Penelope Cruz not only give very good performances, but have a couple of like genuinely dramatically heartbreaking moments, and it's proof that while a great cast can't save a film, they can at least kind of make it watchable. My number 5 is The Grey Man, another film that I did review on this channel if you want to check that out. If we're talking about algorithm-based cinema, that is what The Grey Man is, and that really is the Russo brothers' entire ethos with filmmaking. They did some great stuff in the MCU, but outside of it, it seems they are just interested in making muddy messes for the masses, and they don't believe in auteurism, they don't believe in creativity, they just believe in churning out the next piece of content for people to sit there and brainlessly watch. And I'm fine with some brainless entertainment, but entertainment is the key word here. The Grey Man is not entertainment. It is just a convoluted mess of a spy film that manages to waste some fantastic actors. And shout out to Ana de Armas, who is in 2 movies in my top 10. And the best movie she made this year was Deepwater, which is not a good movie, but congratulations, Deepwater. You're the best Ana de Armas film of the year. But Chris Evans has that stupid mustache. I don't know what's going on there. Are they trying to riff on Henry Cavill in Mission Impossible? I don't know. All I remember from this movie is the train chase. That's it. Like the rest, it's all just blended together, and it's why I have largely given up on streaming action movies, because they are all the same. Yet this is supposedly becoming a franchise. Who are you people that watched it? Please, I have questions for you, please. For my positive, I could just say Ryan Gosling's in it because I love him, but even he kind of phones it in a bit. But I do think that there is some heart and humanity in the relationship between him and the kid he's trying to rescue, played by Julia Butters. Their relationship only takes up like 5 to 10 minutes of screen time in the movie, but it is affecting, and it's an angle I like, and I wish the film leaned more into the heart of that element. My number 4 is Netflix's adaptation of Persuasion, which is a Jane Austen novel, which I haven't read, but I've seen another adaptation, so practically I'm an expert, but it's, from what I understand, one of Austen's most melancholic novels and one of her more mature stories, and it's about a woman looking for a second chance at love after she encounters a man that she was almost married a long time ago, but then they drifted apart, and it's a great story. Shout out to the 2007 BBC adaptation starring my hero Sally Hawkins, which is really good. But this just fails completely, and it's very much a how do you do fellow kids adaptation of Persuasion that completely fails at modernizing the source material. And you can modernize Jane Austen well. Many people have done it. I think the Anya Taylor-Joy adaptation of Emma, while it's still set in the old days, it has a lot of, tongue-in-cheek humor and modern flourishes that really work. Or you've got stuff like Clueless, which adapts Emma into a fun high school story in the modern day. Or you've got Fire Island, which adapts Pride and Prejudice into this fun gay rom-com. Like, you can modernize Jane Austen well. This movie does not. Firstly, Dakota Johnson is really, really miscast in this. She has, I know what an iPhone is face. She just looks too modern, and she plays it very modern in this film. There is a sense of meta to this story, and the 2007 version did this well with the character sort of looking into the camera and stuff, but in this movie, she's just fourth wall breaking every 5 seconds and mugging and making jokes like she's Deadpool or some shit. And so there are some really awful lines of dialogue in this, like, he's a 10. I never trust a 10. Or one character at one point is just like, I'm an empath. Just really, really awful lines trying to relate to Gen Z and completely missing the essence of this story. I don't even care that you're trying to turn it into a comedy or a rom-com, but it just misses all of the yearning and the pain that this character has. They're turning her into like some sassy Fleabag type character, and it did not work for me at all, and it really bothered me. And if I'm going with the positive, I'll say I thought Henry Golding was a lot of fun in this, and probably the only person in it who really understood the assignment. And also, we were going to get a Persuasion adaptation starring, I believe, Sarah Snook and Joel Fry, but that got shelved when they realized Netflix were working on this one, which is so upsetting, because how good would that have been? That's how I felt knowing that they discontinued Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy trilogy to make whatever the 2019 one was. Like, what a tragedy. What an absolute tragedy. Netflix showing up a lot on my list. My number 3 is Senior Year, the Rebel Wilson high school comedy where she is injured in a cheerleading accident and wakes up 30 something years later from a coma, still with sort of the mind of a kid, and we get the usual fish out of water hijinks of her adapting to the modern world and then trying to relive her high school glory that she missed out on, and absolutely hated this. I don't remember much about it. so this might be a short entry, but yeah, it's not good. And it takes a concept that I do find kind of interesting. I'm really interested in the idea of people waking up from comas and seeing what the world is like, but it doesn't really do anything with it. You know, none of the characters are super phased by it. They all just kind of go on with their business. And the high school setting, every character is just a stereotype and a cliche. Like, I really thought we were done with the days where we had gay characters whose entire personality was I'm gay and stuff like that. Like, let people be fully rounded. And the film's also making fun of Gen Z and trying to relate to it, but it's making fun of it in kind of a mean-spirited way, in a way that like a 50-year-old would try to relate to Gen Z, and that the movie's kind of making fun of how woke everyone is now, where I'm like, I think it's a good thing that everyone's woke now. But it just deals with a lot of tropes that feel like they belong back in the 90s, where Rebel Wilson's character probably belongs. Yeah, that's about it. I was probably tuned out by the halfway point of this, and it was just a really annoying film. For my positive, I just think it's funny that one of the teen actors in this is named Michael Cimino, like the director of The Deer Hunter, and I spent a lot of the movie just chuckling about that, so that was nice. Who out here pondering the morb? Strap in, ladies and gentlemen, it is fucking Morbin time. Number 2 is Morbius. Now, maybe I could cut this movie some slack because of the genuinely fantastic memes it has spawned, but I'm not going to. Definitely the best comic book movie of 2007. Morbius tells the story of Dr. Michael Morbius, a scientist guy who turns into a vampire guy who does vampire guy shit. And it really just has that murky, terrible cinematography and bare bones story that we'd come to expect of comic book movies from about 15 years ago. But they're coming back. They're coming back with stuff, other Sony stuff like Venom and everything. But I'm actually a fan of the Venom films. They are campy fun. Morbius is just depressing. I missed it in theaters, but I was determined not to miss out, so I watched it at home a couple months later, and let me tell you what, watching this movie at home alone, one of the sadder experiences you can have. You really start sitting there and contemplating your life choices while you're sitting there watching Morbius alone. Look, it wouldn't be one of my worst of the year lists without an appearance from Jared Leto, and he's absolutely killed it again in this one, just doing the absolute worst acting you've ever seen, and no one else in this really fares much better. Like, you've got Matt Smith as this really over-the-top villain, and then the terrible end credit sequence with the weird appearance from Michael Keaton's Vulture. I don't know, just Morbius, not good. It really is as bad as people say, and despite the memes are a lot more fun than actually watching the thing. It is a sad and lonely experience. For my positive, the Matt Smith dance. What else would it be?
10 to 10. Or put my spend to spend. Have size. Excel. Ultimately fully cash show. Vola vala vola va. Tingani tandi best show. Vola vala vola va. Tandin tashi tandi hair show.
My number 1 worst film of the year, and I don't think too many are going to disagree with me on this, is Judd Apatow's The Bubble. Can I just throw some plaudits Netflix's way? Because 6 of my bottom 10 films of the year are Netflix originals. They've made some good ones, don't get me wrong, but with original programming like this, it's no wonder they're getting kind of worried about their business. But yeah, The Bubble is horrible, and I say this as a Judd Apatow fan. I really like so much of the comedy that he's produced over the last 15 years, and the stuff he directs is usually pretty good too. But The Bubble is a living nightmare. It is very, very out of touch. Judd Apatow, you boomer, what are you doing? It is very self-indulgent and very, it's very pick me. It's very, oh, woe is me, I'm a multi-millionaire movie producer, but making movies was kind of hard during the pandemic. Oh, boo. this fails on every front. It fails as social commentary. It fails as satire. It fails as a comedy. It fails as a movie about movie making. And it brings a lot of good names down with it. There are so many wonderful, talented comedians in this movie. You got Karen Gillan, you got Pedro Pascal, Maria Baklava, Keegan-Michael Key. I can't remember all of them, but there are so many great people in this movie, and just about nobody escapes it with their dignity. There's not really much of a narrative to speak of. The satire doesn't go far enough to actually work or be outrageous. It's just all these weird anecdotes of being on a film set and, whoa, actors are crazy and insecure. Whoa, we had to wear masks. Whoa, pandemic movie making's hard. Yeah, like, I know. This movie's going to feel so dated in 3 years' time. It's also maybe one of the most cringe cases of nepotism of the year, with Apatow casting his daughter in like one of the lead roles as a TikTok star. And I'm not saying she can't act, but it's just such a cringeworthy character. And there are multiple scenes where it's just long, drawn-out TikTok dances, and it's so cringe. Like, I'm sorry, I'm a boomer. I don't understand TikTok, so anytime that's at the forefront of a movie, I'm not going to be able to connect to it or relate to it. But I don't know who this movie is for, because why is like a teen going to care about this satire on movie making? But why is a film fan going to care about such a juvenile film? I absolutely hated The Bubble. Why is it over 2 hours long? Why? Like, someone tell me. It's just, I think the only two actors who kind of escaped this with their dignity were Pedro Pascal and Maria Baklava. Everyone else can go straight to the gulag and deserves like 5 years of movie jail before coming back on a film set, because this movie is horrendous. Do not watch it, please. I beg of you. If I had to pick a positive, there's a James McAvoy cameo that was probably responsible for like the only time I laughed during this film. Daisy Ridley is also kind of funny in it. That's about it. The Bubble, horrific, and a career low for Judd Apatow. And I know there'll be people out there who just don't like him in general, but he's someone I really like and kind of respect. But a lot of that respect went away the day I saw The Bubble. That's it. That's my worst films of the year list. I don't think there's anything too controversial on here. There are some divisive ones, but I don't think there's anything here that people really love besides probably Elvis. But look, I've made peace with that. Myself, an Elvis hater, and the Elvis fans, we have made peace with each other and are agreeing to coexist and agree to disagree. But yeah, overall, very good year for film, but it's been a bad year for franchise filmmaking, and a lot of the super terrible franchise movies didn't quite make it onto the list, but were bad all the same, like your Fantastic Beasts and your Uncharted and Sonic 2 and Thor: Love and Thunder. All of that stuff really underwhelmed me. There were just some stuff that I disliked more. But there's been a lot of really good films too, and stay tuned. I know everyone's doing their top 10 best now, but I like to wait. I like to wait until sort of mid to late February so I can see everything, because stuff like The Whale and Women Talking, films I'm really looking forward to, I'm not going to be able to see in Australia until then, because this country hates movie fans. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Seriously, thank you for a great year. It's definitely been my most consistent year of making videos on this channel, and I have no plans of slowing down anytime soon. Let me tell you to follow me on Instagram at Jacob Watches Films. That'll be in the description. I'm currently counting down my top 100 favorite actors and actresses. I'm about halfway through that now, so it's a good time to join in. And it's where I post everything movie related that I'm doing and talking about. Follow me on Letterboxd for more of my in-depth reviews. That link will also be in the description. And let me know in the comments, what did you think of my list? What were some of your least favorite movies of the year? And what does some of this say about the state of film today? Because it's getting dire for a lot of blockbusters, despite getting a few great ones like your Top Guns and everything like that. That's it from me. Have a great day and keep on morbin'.